trigger happy and I give less than a fuck. Love me or hate me, I'ma show enough, rip shit up. It's Mr. Nothing, nice on a mic stand. Mic in the left and the zest in my right hand. I took a puff, had enough now, hold up. If that was Indo, niggas getting rolled up.
What's going on, folks? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review Deuce's EP project, the 2008 EP. So obviously, this project came out in 2008, but then also this was something that Deuce is working on around the same time that he dropped Swan Songs with Hollywood Undead around that time in 2008. So I'm not sure which came out first. I mean, there's no date that really says as to when the 2008 EP came out, but it was basically something just because it's a hodgepodge of records that Deuce did in 2008 that were 4 years before his breakout solo album, 9 Lives. And the thing about it is 2 records from this project, The One and Gravestone, were made 4 years before they showed up on 9 Lives. So it's kind of like, hell, he was trying to go solo way back then. And it's interesting just because it was a short taste of what Deuce could eventually do, seeing. And speaking on that, on a side note, Deuce had really been trying to pop up and hit the mainstream since as far back as 2005. And that would have been really brilliant just because he was kind of an amalgamation of like rock and rap, the type stuff, probably just a more profitable version of like Limp Bizkit, in some cases Korn, but just more emphasis on like rap related stuff. I feel like Deuce is probably a better lyricist than Fred Durst, but then that's just kind of the concept there as far as saying some of those things. So it would have been interesting to have seen Deuce on the radio and stuff like that back in 2006, 2008. But yeah, so he attempted to go solo, and there's actually a secret kind of amount of songs off this project that aren't on 9 Lives. Now, unfortunately, there's not really too much enough to warrant like seeking this project out, but there is at least a small cache of songs in case you do actually want to go to the trouble of getting this. And the songs are good. I mean, I definitely give them credit. I just wish that there probably would have been at least 1 and possibly 2 more songs. I feel like a 4-song EP is really scant, but that's just kind of the concept behind it. So really, the 4 songs on here: The One, Gravestone, Hollywood Vacation, and Deuce.com. Gravestone is kind of like this frenemies type song that kind of talks about some of the troubles that Deuce kind of had in like a context that sometimes they were on his side, sometimes kind of That kind of happens to be the situation. I really like the tempo of that song. Really kind of has like nice pacing and just kind of good vibes about it, just because Deuce is kind of a good storyteller. So when he just kind of keeps it basic and goes through the lyrics, you actually get some good vibes to kind of understand what he is as a songwriter. And then The One, I used to like this song, but I still like this song now. But to kind of say The One is kind of like him kind of having qualms about being like destined and that type of stuff and having problems as far as that kind of goes. So it's interesting to kind of get that and see Deuce from that particular angle, kind of having like regrets as far as like the fame that he's happened. And that's just as far back as 2008, him saying that. I thought that he made this song in 2012 because it was a single off of 9 Lives. Years later, 2012, 2013, this went on to become a single. But it's interesting that he had the perception of this back in 2008 to kind of convey that. But the 2 songs that are not anywhere else but this project, Hollywood Vacation, has Truth on there. And it's really kind of a frantic song. It really has like an exhilarating energy. It really feels kind of not uplifting, but just crazy and manic. I appreciated the approach on there, and Deuce, of course, did. Deuce knocked out all the hooks. I mean, Deuce is pretty much a pro at doing hooks at this stage, so he has the ability to do that. I think most of them are pretty sing-songy just from Deuce's cadence of being able to do it. But then I also like Deuce.com. I mean, that one was nice. It's a real simple romp. It's kind of a personality of Deuce and stuff, just him kind of flirting with ladies and that type stuff, kind of, just kicking back, kind of acting an ass, that type stuff. It's interesting enough, but really there should have been like at least one other song like Deuce.com. I mean, that's like the smallest portion of just like Deuce. I mean, back in 2008, he didn't really know he was going to drop a solo album probably, but that's kind of the concept, is just to say that it really just, because Truth actually takes up 2 verses on Hollywood Vacation. So I would have to say that Deuce.com is really the only true reason to go after this project once you have 9 lives, supposing you have it. So that's kind of the concept. If you don't, I mean, but it's just kind of that's the concept. 4 songs is just much too short. But I'm gonna give this album an 8 out of 10 because I did like all 4 songs. Hollywood Vacation is great. Deuce.com is even better. Both real low key and slinky Deuce songs that kind of have like the kind of off the wall and kind of sleeper charm that Deuce typically has, and especially considering the fact that Deuce has kind of vanished in recent times, it's interesting to get that. But I'm not going to give this album a 10 just because if you got 9 lives, there's really not too much more of a point to get this project minus just 2 songs, which is not enough. I mean, you shouldn't be paying $8 or $14, something like that, or more than that, just for 2 songs, especially considering that you can get them probably digitally for like 99 cents or something. But with me kind of being like a collectionist and a completionist, I like to get the CD format. And this is kind of, I mean, there needed to be something else. I mean, obviously it's water under the bridge at this point, but it's just kind of like, it's one of those situations like there should have been a 5th song on here. That probably would have been the difference between this record getting an 8 out of 10 and at least like a 9.5 and possibly a 10 even. But that's just kind of the concept. I mean, Deuce is such a character that has personality that he can fill out an EP easily. And he pretty much does leave people hungry for more on short projects because he has personality enough where it's like, come on, Deuce, you can throw 6 songs on here. They're simple, make it worth the $12 that you have to pay for it. But that's kind of the situation. So the social score, I'm not really sure just because it's an EP and this was way before he was on the verge of blowing up as a solo artist. So that's kind of the situation. Deuce, in terms of the future and what Deuce has been up to, well, Deuce has vanished since like March of 2018 when he dropped Nightmare. But I just would have to say, just supporting these kinds of projects, at least I found a couple good songs that you can't find anywhere else, and it's good stuff from Deuce. It's very charming.